Good evening, everyone. Hope you're having a great night. It's the blogger here doing a Cheltenham preview. Now, before I get into the Cheltenham preview, I wanted to touch briefly on the obvious, absolutely devastating death of Richard Walcott, a man who's 40 years old, has left behind a family, a wife, and it's a very prevalent case in this day in society. What's more, from a baffling point of view is I saw Richard in the winners' enclosure at Newbury a few weeks ago after Beer Goggles won, and he looked like a man on the cusp of a moment, the joy around the horse, the joy of everyone in that owner's enclosure. But this is where depression, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia is the best hidden disease that there is, because you can actively look so happy for a moment, but deep within, you're crying yourself to sleep every night. And I don't know exactly what Richard was going through, but at the end of the day, he decided it was strong enough that he ended his own life and left behind people who obviously loved him. Now, back in the day when I had issues with my leg, which I still do, but I'm not going to go into this, I had a major mental health situation, and it was a tough old road. And I can tell you there was a many of occasion where I thought about doing certain things that a normal person might not think about doing. I completely locked myself away for a few months, and I was a distraught man, and I'm still grateful to be here today, is the truth of the matter. What can you say? People say speak up, speak out, but the majority of the time it's so fucking hard to speak up and speak out, because the emotions and the pain that you're going through at that time are so severe that you just feel like you can't. And that's what hurts even more. And maybe you might say to your mates, I'm not really feeling well, I'm down all the time, I don't feel good. And they're like, oh, come on, mate, pull your fucking socks up, come on, mate, you'll be alright. But that's not how depression works. It's not how schizophrenia or bipolar or any other mental health facet works. It eats away at you. You wake up in the morning and you just feel dead. You feel there's no purpose to your life. You feel you're not here for a reason. And when you do have a good moment, it's gone. It's gone. It's over. The rest of the day is like shit. And after a while, I guess for some people, this pain just becomes too much. It really is very sad. I mean, there's not a lot I can say. My personal experience, what helped me was reading, starting to get back into a little bit of a routine daily, not allowing my time just to go by unwarranted. I tried to grow some habits that were going to help me to progress. I started learning how to walk again, and once I did, I started going to the park on a daily basis to get out around nature. I found that by reading self-help books and motivation books, it started to help me a bit. And 18 months to 2 years later, I was doing all right. But that isn't the case for everybody. And if you are somebody who's suffering with mental health, as easy as it is for me to say to you, speak about it, maybe just find something that helps you feel a bit better within, whether it's watching comedy series, whether it's reading some books, whether it's talking to a girlfriend, a partner, a family member, whoever it is. Just try and do something small that takes away a bit of the pain. And if you can add a few more bits and pieces to your daily life that takes away from the pain, there might be a little bit more light in your life, and that light will help you to hopefully come out of the mists, because I fully understand what that feels like, believe me. And I might talk about that story further down the line, but right now I'm not in the mindset with my shoulder and the pain I'm in and blah 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 to talk about any of that. But for all of you who are suffering with mental health problems, know that you're not alone, although that doesn't help you, but know that there are better times to come. One thing I can promise you about mental health is this one thing: there are fucking so many better times to come in life. Life is the biggest bastard roller coaster you can imagine. Trust me. Nothing warrants taking your life. Nothing at all. Anyway, got the serious stuff out of the way. Pretty deep, I know, but it's a subject that's quite close to my heart. And I saw that guy in the parade ring, Richard Walcott, and it was like the smile on his face. I can still see it now because I was right there by the owner's enclosure, and it was just like, when I saw that news, I was like, what the fuck? I couldn't believe it. I was pretty stunned. But I guess these days with the I mean, I tell you who I feel sorry for is the kids these days. The Kim Kardashian lifestyle. All the young girls, all the young boys having to be this macho image that they don't need to be. You know, the pressure to be buff and muscles, and girls all got to have the big arse like Kim Kardashian and whatever her two little younger sisters are called. You know, and all this online cyberbullying and cyber trolling. It's just disgusting. I mean, I'm lucky that I'm at a place in my life now where I can handle all the vindictive trolls who come and attack me on a regular basis. But a lot of people don't have that mindset to be able to deal with it, you know. And I can only imagine at how some people probably cry themselves to sleep for online cyberbullying. And the amount of people who have committed suicide due to cyberbullying is quite frankly fucking scary. But let's not go into it too far. Let's move on, because it's a subject we could talk about all day. And just know that one thing that I said to you, there are better times ahead. Trust me on that one. Right, kicking off with the Jockey blog. Now, I spoke about Richard Johnson's blog from Betway a few weeks ago, and he put up a really strong word for that Westerner Story, who went on to win 3-1 into 9-4, and he won well. Richard talks about beer goggles in his blog and says it's a very straightforward horse. There's no reason why he shouldn't handle the track, and obviously if he were to win for the Richard Walcott family, it would be a tremendous day. No one would begrudge them that, obviously. In the first, he rides a horse called Ixlir de Nuts, who's taking on Apple Shakira. You know, obviously, the Fab 6-1 on says it all. The one horse Richard does talk about is on Sunday, riding for Warren Greatrix, a trainer in tremendous form from Lambourn. He rides a horse called Mahavalus, who runs in the 3 p.m. He schooled him on Friday morning. He felt really well, and the testing ground at Fontwell should suit him. That's Mahavalus in the 3 o'clock, and that's from Richard Johnson. Harry Fry with a lovely gesture in his Betway blog. I'm going to give Saturday's prize money to Richard's fund, and that's a lovely gesture there from Harry Fry. Fair play to you, Harry. Harry doesn't have that many runners. He has American, but he says, look, it's a recovery mission, and that's all we're about to say at this stage. And then you've got the horse I highlighted during the week that Barry Geraghty rides in a 10-4, Littoral C. He says she's on an upwards curve. She was due to run at Exeter in the week, but the meeting was called off, so this was the second plan. Hopefully she's got a bit more up her sleeve. Doesn't sound too bullish. And he's got a few runners at Uttoxeter and Donny, but again, he doesn't sound too bullish. The one in the 420 is a filly called Rita's Bid, and he says she's been working really well. You never quite know with bumper horses, but hopefully she can be progressive. Obviously, a trainer who's quite quiet in January is Paul Nicholls, who gives them all the flu jabs. He's got Adrian the Point, who's dropping back in trip. Paul seems fairly bullish about this horse, but he's got it all to do against Shantou Rock and Alan King's horse in that race. Frodon, you know, he's pretty high in the handicap. Byron, he's taking off a handy £5. I think we know where that horse is with the handicapper. And he's got Warrior's Tale, who he says is his best each way chance over in the Sky Bet Chase to 3.15 at Doncaster. Nico de Bonville doesn't have many rides, but he is riding, and he has chosen to ride an interesting horse. In the 3 o'clock, he's jumped off Santini, who I thought he'd ride, and he rides Pacific de Boine. And he just said he was so impressive by this horse last time out. He wished he could ride both of them in the same race. That's the 3 p.m. at Cheltenham, but he has to choose one, and he's quite impressed by Pacific de Boine. Nicky Henderson, good old Nicky, very kind of us to say to us in his Unibet blog, he thinks his best chance of the weekend is Apple Shakira. Well, cheers to you, Nicky. That horse is 6-1 on. We're all going to fill our boots. But I don't think we'll be getting stuck into Apple Shakira at all, do you? Talks about Thomas Campbell and how he loves Cheltenham, and they're just hoping he runs well. The one horse he does give a really bullish mention to is in the 5-2. It's a Grade 2, Indian Hawk. They won the race last year with Constantine Bay. This horse hosed up in a maiden at Ludlow, and Nicky goes as far as saying is he could be anything. It cost him over £100,000. So that could be one to look out for, and that is Indian Hawk in the 5-2. And that is the blog roundup. I think it's a really tricky day's racing in general. Let's crack on with the Cheltenham card. Right, Cheltenham, 7 races, including the Cotswolds Chase and the Triumph Hurdle. It's a good card with some good handicaps. 7 races there, and looking forward to seeing Bristol de Mai. Which Bristol de Mai is going to turn up? Who knows? But kicking off with the first race, let's not waste much time on it. The 12:40, a 2 mile 1 juvenile hurdle. Apple Shakira for Barry Geraghty, Nicky Henderson and JP McManus. 5-1 on. You're not going to get rich backing her. She's 3 from 3 at the moment. Favourite for the Triumph. And she's had 2 runs at Cheltenham. The horse she beat last time out, Noob Negra, absolutely hosed in today. The form is absolutely brilliant. My only advice for this race is, if you're going to have a bet on the distances on Apple Shakira, who's obviously very likely to win, back her on the unders. I think Barry will hold her up to the last minute. She'll pop the last, and she probably won't win by too far. So if you fancy the unders on the distance market for Apple Shakira, that would be my advice there. The second race on the card is the 1:15, a 2 mile 5 novices handicap chase, and it's a very competitive race. And I think the story of the year is the turn in the form of the Colin Tizard yard. I mean, last year there was no stopping this yard, and this year they've been so quiet. Obviously, you know, the injuries to Thistlecrack, we haven't seen Native River. It's just been unbelievable how a yard can suddenly be probably one of the hottest yards in the country, and they're pretty cold this year. It's been a really bad year for them. Sizing Tennessee, let's spin through the betting here. Ballyandy and Sizing Tennessee are 3-1 joint favourites. Mr. Whitaker at 7-2, Full Irish 8. Theatre Territory at 9-1, 11-1 War Sound, and then Solace Star 20s. Very competitive race, but I'm inclined to take a chance here on Sizing Tennessee, who nearly beat our New Year's Day nap in Yanni Yanworth. Ooh! Gave me a super fright up the run-in. And if you think about that form, literally, he gave Yanni £3 that day and ran him to a neck. I know Yanni's not the most convincing jumper of a fence, but off a 147, this horse loves soft ground. He's got a lot of form at Cheltenham, including a very decent run on the 27th of October, where he fell, travelling best in the lead, 1 length lead when he crumpled on landing and fell 2 out behind Black Corten, the winning machine. He was going really well that day. Who knows what might have happened? But off a 147, you'd be hopeful Sizing Tennessee will be bang there at the finish. It's a very tricky race. Ballyandy, he ran in the same race last time. The ground was heavy. Maybe it didn't suit him. It was a bit disappointing, though, being beaten 12 lengths. Potentially not as good as a chaser as he was a hurdler. War Sound is a horse who ran behind St Cavaldos last time out at Newbury. You all know what I think of St Cavaldos. He's definitely a grade 1, grade 2 horse in the making. And Philip Hobbs' horse are generally running a lot better. War Sound could run a much improved race. He's going to have to continue to improve his jumping, though. It hasn't been the best. But my selection in the 115 would be Sizing Tennessee. Collins had 2 winners from his last 10 runners, operating at a 20% strike rate. Not the biggest sample size there, but Sizing Tennessee will do for me in the 115. If you're hoping to back the winner of the 150, good luck. It's an absolute nightmare of a race. You've got 17 runners over 2 mile 5 on soft ground. It's a very, very tricky race. Spin through the betting here. Been a big gamble on Kustar Sivola. You can see why. An unexposed novice chaser who's got some good form in the book, including a run behind Finian's Oscar. Ballyhill, who won at Cheltenham last time out. King's Odyssey, an interesting booking for Evan Williams, having Barry Geraghty on board. That horse also ran at Cheltenham last time out, behind Guitar Pete and Clan de Zobo. And then you've got the likes of Froden, 8-1, 007, 11s. But I'm going to go for 2 big outsiders in this race. Blogger, have you lost your bloody marbles? Marbles, no. But what I do have is a shitload of green and blacks chocolate, which I've been scoffing all day. Hashtag I'm not in the gym, so I've been getting fatter and fatter. I'm going to take 2 big outsiders in this. I said Colin Tizard in the last race. I'm going to go with Colin again. Ballylongford, 22-1. And Arctic Gold for everyone's favourite Nigel Twiston Davis, 14-1. Now, Ballylongford, he's got some interesting form at Cheltenham, which I really like. I love horses who have got form at Cheltenham. Sorry, I'm just stuffing my face here as I talk to you all. This horse, interesting horse. Came over from France, went to Willie Mullins's, went over to Henry de Bromhead's, and now he's with Colin. He's done the whole full circuit, this horse. Anyway, a lovely 3rd in November behind Unbu Rahman, a 3rd behind Theatre Guide, and basically a lovely run at Ascot last time out, over 3 miles. And if you've been watching this horses in his races, you'll notice that he's bang there at 2 mile 4, bang there 2.5, 2.6, and then he just seems to fade. So what I'm thinking here is the drop back in trip from 3 miles and 3 1/4 to 2 mile 5 is really going to suit him. Sorry, shouldn't probably stuff my mouth with chocolate whilst making a video. Greedy bastard. But I do like the look of Ballylongford there. Could be worth a few pound each way. And the other one is Arctic Gold. Young Tom Humphreys rides him, claiming the 7. Good luck to you, Tom, mate. Horse is due to carry 10 stone 4. With the £7 claim, he's going to be off a flyweight, off a 9 stone 11. Horse has some good form in the book. A lovely run at Uttoxeter the last time. Probably should have won if he didn't hit the second last. And a good run behind Cyrus Dyrus at Air over 2.5. Soft ground will suit him. He stays a bit further than 2.5. And Nigel does particularly well at Cheltenham with these kind of handicappers. So 2 against the field there. Ballylongford at 22 to 1 and Arctic Gold at 14 to 1. Let me know who's going to win this nutty race down below in the comments. If you back Kustar Savola, I can see why. A cracking third behind Finian's Oscar, only beaten 6 lengths. And then a second to Calondra over course and distance, only beaten 3 lengths. So all the forms in the book for Kustar Savola are for 135. Just doesn't really have the experience in a big, you know, big chase race like this against some experienced older chasers. So it will be interesting to see how Kustar Savola handles that. But who knows, we might be able to pull off a miracle and get a big price winner. Remember, Tottenham fans, there's only one team in London. Up the Arsenal. Right, the 225, the big race of the day, the Cotswolds chase, 3 mile, 1.5 furlongs. We've got the dead 8, and if you saw my post earlier on in the week, I was talking about backing the Last Samurai at 15 to 2 each way, which I did. I had a few pound each way, and I'll give you my reasoning for that now. But let's kick off with the market. Bristol Demai, very uneasy, opened up 11 to 10, out to 15 to 8 already. A major drifter, Bristol Demai. Unbelievable how weak he is. American 5 to 1, the Last Samurai 5 to 1. Aye, Blogsy snaked the 15 to 2. Definitely red 6s, T for 2, 9s, and I'm not going to talk about the rest because I don't think they got any chance at all. But Bristol Demai, he's had 2 runs at Cheltenham, finishing 2nd and 7th. 7th in the Gold Cup and 2nd to Black Hercules. And if you look at his 2 wins this year at Wetherby and Haydock, they've both been on very flat tracks, where, as we know with Cheltenham, it's very undulating. So the big thing about Bristol Demai is he a flat track bully? Yes, in my opinion. Proved at Kempton in some sense. Well, maybe not definitely by Kempton, but just by his performances where he's not on a flat track. And the other thing with Bristol Demai is when he gets taken on for the lead, is he the same horse? He's a bit of an enigma because, you know, when he beat Q-Card at Haydock and on some of his other performances, he looks absolutely stunning. But I don't think he's a horse who is one to be trusted. That being said, everything suits this horse in this race. And if he doesn't win and win well, it's going to be a bit strange. It'll just prove that he really doesn't handle tracks like Cheltenham. Definitely Red, a great old servant to Brian Ellison. Won the Many Clouds chase last time out at Aintree, beating Cloudy Dream, who in my opinion was a non-stayer. Up to a career high of 159. Should run a good race indeed. And let's not forget, he went on to beat the Last Samurai last year. But the Last Samurai gave him £12 that day. And today he's receiving 6. So he's £18 better off for being beat 14 lengths. And this is primarily why I backed the Last Samurai. He's a terrific older chaser. We know he stays, he jumps well, he'll go in the ground. A cracking 2nd to Black Lion at Aintree as a warm-up. Obviously the big target is the Grand National, but he gave Black Lion £6 that day. I think he'll probably be an even bit fitter today. Kim Bailey's horses are running bloody brilliantly. He's unleashing a lot of these young horses with massive potential, operating at a 27% strike rate. And with the dead 8, I was hoping there'd be 7 and we snuck the early 3 during the week, but be fairly hopeful of the Last Samurai really finishing in the money and potentially going on to win the race. I mean, look, if Bristol Demai shows up, he wins, doesn't he? Let's not beat about the bush. He's the best horse in the race. He's only 7 years old and he's the horse with the most potential, but he's not one that you'd really trust. And 3 mile, 1.5 furlongs at Cheltenham is really going to find you out if you've got any weaknesses. It's a very demanding course and you're going to have your bollocks on the line. So I've just gone with Kim Bailey's horse there, the Last Samurai each way. Let me know your thoughts on Bristol Demai down below. It's a very, very interesting race in all honesty. We could talk about it all day. Kicking on to the 3 o'clock. And this was a fascinating race because Nico de Bonville has opted to ride Pacific de Bain instead of Santini. And they're 2 very unexposed novice hurdlers for Nicky. And Nicky, as we all know, has some tremendous horses. A 2.5 mile Grade 2. And the betting at the moment, Pacific Dubois is now 3-1. Santini out to 9-2. Was 5-2 favourite during the week. Mulcahy's Hill for Warren Greatrix 5s and Tickenbar 13-2. Black Ops 7s and Slate House at 10s. But I think you've got to respect the fact that Nico has opted to choose this horse. Nico said he was so impressed by the way he won at Newbury. Brainstorm, the horse who was 12 lengths behind in that race, has come out and franked the form in no uncertain manner. And Nicky knows what it takes to win. I'm a big fan of Santini. As you all know, one of my bets of the year was Chef's de Zobo. And he hosed up behind Santini. The form does look good, but if Nico's choosing Pacific Dubois, I'd be inclined to go with him. He's working the horses at home, and he should know which one is the best. And he gave it a good write-up in his blog, as I mentioned earlier on. Mulcahy's Hill was just touched off at Newbury by Poetic Rhythm from Fergal O'Brien's yard in the Grade 1. The shallow hurdle. Stays all day. Does he have the speed against these potentially faster horses at Cheltenham? I have my reservations there. Don't think he's quite up to taking on the fastest horses. Poetic Rhythm wouldn't be the fastest, middle distance novice hurdler. Tickenbar for Newell Mile Holland ticks a lot of boxes as a course and distance winner. Won nicely last time out. He's going to have to improve a bit more to win this race. But if I were having a punt, it would be Nico de Bonville on Pacific Dubois. For a man who's in incredible form, Nicky Henderson is just winning bloody everything. He's literally non-stop. The 3:35, the Cleeve hurdle, and we've got the career-saving Finian's Oscar, who's going back from the jumps back over to the hurdles, and it's going to be interesting to see how Finian's gets on. Finian's currently available at 7-2, Holstone 7-2, the World's End 13-2, Agripat 8-1, Beer Goggles 17-2, and Thomas Campbell 10s, Colin's Sister 11-1. An interesting race with a lot of unanswered questions. Where do you start? Where do you end? Obviously, it would be phenomenal if Beer Goggles could win for now trainer Kaylee Walcott. It would be a phenomenal story for racing all around. A good winner at Newbury last time out, beating, Harry, where Thistlecrack disappointed. He's going to have to improve again to win this. It's a good contest. He's got the £6 penalty, and we'll hopefully see how he goes. Agripat is a horse who stays very well. Chased home Holstone last time out. Is £3 better off at the weights with Holstone. He should run a really big race for Lizzie Kelly. From a yard in good form, Nick Williams. Finian's Oscar, he's won a point-to-point over 3 miles, but it's his first time under rules over 3 miles. And for me, he's got it all to prove today. Beaten by Benatar last time out at Ascot. That, he was giving that horse £5, and I do think a lot of Gary Moore's chaser there. But disappointed to see him go back hurdling, in my opinion. I was really looking forward to seeing Finian's over the fences this year. And I still can't understand why the Tizzars decided to run Finian's Oscar at Sandown over 2 miles in the Henry VIII Novice Chase. Clearly not a 2-miler, was taken off of his feet. And I think it's just ruined his whole season fencing. So, just really disappointed with the way he was campaigned personally. A good run at the Cheltenham meeting where he beat Move with the Times, gave that horse £8, and then to drop back to 2 miles. Just so strange, because he's obviously not a 2-miler. Everyone makes mistakes. And, he's receiving £3 here, so he holds every chance. And Brian Cooper's in for a good book of rides. Thomas Campbell is a course and distance winner. He loves Cheltenham, but again, he's still going to have to improve to win this, in my opinion. Colin's Sister, I wouldn't be a fan of backing a mare against the older horses here, against the boys as well. For me, it's all about Holstone. He absolutely loves Cheltenham. He's a course and distance winner. He won last time out. He's £3 worse off with Agripat, but he's beaten horses at Cheltenham, the likes of William Henry, Ami Dubois, third behind Penhill at the Cheltenham Festival. He's beaten West Approach. All his Cheltenham form stacks up really, really well. And I'd be disappointed if he's not really coming to himself now. He's got the penalty for winning last time out. But I think at 7-2, you could almost back this horse each way, a quarter the odds with some firms. And be disappointed if he's not in the first 3. It is a really good Cleeve hurdle. And it's one you wouldn't want to be getting too stuck into. But if Beer Goggles were to win, it would bring the house down. The final race on the card is another tricky puzzle. If you've done your bollocks and you're going into this hoping to back a winner, you might be in a fair bit of trouble. Pray for all of you. It's a 2-mile 1 handicap hurdle. And there has been a bit of a gamble already on the good old doctor's horse, Dr. Newland, La Patrite. He's a French horse who had his first run in the country at Kempton last time out in the Lanzarote. And he finished an eye-catching 7th. He was cruising until 2 out, where his stamina just seemed to give way. Interesting, he's dropped all the way back to 2 mile 1 today. If that was the case of why he was beaten, it was a lack of stamina, he could be thrown in here off a 127. Daryl Jacobs been booked to do the steering, and this horse has been backed already from 5 to 1 down to 3 to 1. Le Patre currently available, top price 7 to 2. Barry Geraghty's horse for Harry Fry, Literal C, 4s, Clondor Castle 5s, R Merlin 15 to 2, Huntsman's Son 11s, and it goes all the way down from there. But definitely very interesting move there for Dr. Newland's horse. A man who doesn't waste firepower. Another interesting horse is R Merlin for Robert Walford, a yard in cracking form. Horse was second to Call Me Lord, trained by Nicky Henderson at Sandown last time out. I don't think anything had a chance against Call Me Lord off a 143. Absolutely pissed in. And R Merlin's going to run off a 127 here. You think he'd still have a bit more to give on ground that's going to suit him. The other horse I talked about during the week was Harry Fry's Literal C. Was due to run at Exeter, but the mare was pulled out. And she's here instead because Exeter was called off. Harry Fry, said in his blog, you know, if she continues to improve, she'll have a good chance. But this could be at the mercy of Le Patre for the good old Dr. Richard Newland. It's a really tricky card at Cheltenham tomorrow. I'm not going there expecting to win a load of money. I'm not going there too confident in anything at all. Typical January day trials, more questions to answer than have already been answered. What's your banker on the Cheltenham card? Let me know down below. What's your best each way bet? What would you lay? Are you laying Bristol de Mai or are you backing him? There's a really good card over at Doncaster. Sco Royal in the 130, 5 to 2 on, taking on Adrian the Point and Shantu Rock. Be disappointed if Sco Royal got beat in that. The 205 is a grade 2, over 3 miles, and a horse I'm looking forward to seeing, very much so in the 5 past 2, is Indian Hawk for Nicky Henderson. A yard who won this in 2015 and 2017. This horse hosed up at Ludlow, and Nicky was really bullish about his chances in this race. Currently available at 3 to 1. Davy Russell booked to ride. Potentially, if the vibes are strong tomorrow morning, I will back Indian Hawk in the 205 at Doncaster. Moving on to the 240, I highlighted this earlier on in the week. Maria's Benefit was available at 2 to 1, now 5 to 6 on. Been absolutely smashed in. Obviously, the second fab Verdana Blue was taken out of that. It's going to go for the Betfair hurdle later on in the, I think, early parts of February. But that's at the mercy of Maria's Benefit, the OLBG 240 Mares Hurdle. Good series, that Mares Hurdle. And then the 315, the Sky Bet Chase. The big enigma, a horse who's absolutely done my brains in over the years, Lammy Surge. He's running off a 152, a 159 hurdler. He's well in at the weights. Davy Russell, one of the best riders in the country, in Ireland and England, has been booked to ride him. 3 miles should suit. Soft ground should suit. Lammy stays all day. It's just a question in my mind, in everyone's mind, does Lammy want to win? Because so often he comes there on the bridle, cruising, and he doesn't bloody deliver. So it's a bit of an enigma, that horse, Lammy Surge. Not one for the mortgage, I've learnt the hard way. Warrior's Tale was given a good shout by Paul Nicholls at 14 to 1. But it's not a race that I want to get too heavily involved in. But a really good card there at Doncaster. And looking forward to seeing some of those decent horses on show. Over at Fairyhouse in the 425, Poorman's Hill Runs. He's currently 13 to 8 favourite. If you have a look at this horse, he's going back from the fences to the hurdles for Gordon Elliott. He's rated 121 over fences. He's running in this hurdle race off a 99 minus Chris Meehan's £4 claim, which means he's running off a 95. He's absolutely thrown in, goes in the ground, stays 3 miles. It's hard to see him being beat. It's one of those scenarios where you're going to eat humble pie or he's going to romp in and you're going to look like a genius. But Poorman's Hill over at Fairyhouse is well worth a look in the 425. Let me know what you think about that. A very interesting horse. Gordon's obviously a master at placing these horses from fences to hurdles. He does it all the time. A good card over at Uttoxeter as well. The 255 Cav Top should go very close. But it's a really tricky day's racing, and I know I've said this. I know a lot of the time I'm so bullish about selections. I'd just be very hesitant about getting too stuck in. Skipping ahead to Nace on Sunday, the 150, the Limestone Lad Hurdle. It's a grade 3, and as usual, Gordon's got 2, Willie's got 2, ultra competitive. But I do know the Willie Mullins yard thinks a lot of Sansend. A bit disappointing at Limerick first time out, but a lot of Willie's horses weren't running that well at that time. should strip a lot fitter for this run, and he could be a big improver. Dropping back from 2 mile 4 to 2 miles. That's Sansend in the Limestone Lad Hurdle at Naas on Sunday. And we've got a good grade 3 there as well, a novice chase, the Woodland Parks run over 3 miles. Jury Duty, obviously the starting point, a cracking second last time out in the grade 1 at Leopardstown behind Shattered Love. That race kind of fell apart, to be honest, with Monolith falling and Rathinden being brought down. Denara de Zobo's given the form a boost, obviously, but I'd be tempted to go with Willie's horse here, Live, Love, Laugh. A very lightly raced 8-year-old who was impressive at Cork last time on heavy ground, will absolutely love the conditions, and he could really start to show his true potential. The forecasted price for Live, Love, Laugh is around 9 to 4, and the horse I mentioned earlier on from Warren Greytrex's yard and Richard Johnson and his blog runs in the 3 o'clock at Fontwell, a 2 mile 1 handicap hurdle, Marvelous, and that's predicted to be around 9 to 4. Dickie gave that a good speak up. I'm none the wiser for going through all the form, looking at all these stats and facts. It's an uber tricky day's racing. I'm probably just going to sit here with my Arsenal cup, praying we make some signings, eating a load of chocolate, doing a load of comfort eating. I'm currently in Hertfordshire. I'm going to get the train back to London now because there are no trains tomorrow, and then make my way to Cheltenham from there. See you all there bright and early. Let me know your views on tomorrow's racing down below. Been a bit long this video, but we obviously had some very serious stuff to talk about in the early parts of it, and it's going to be a good day's racing. As I've always said, life is an absolute roller coaster, and you've got to try and learn to balance the good with the bad and just let it all go into a pot and not take it too seriously. Don't take life too seriously, because at the end of the day, we're here for a short time, not a long time. Over and out from the blogger. See you all tomorrow.